up ahead. Affirmative 612.
Back for another edition of the Wealthy Pilots Podcast with Scott Osborn, wrapping into late October. I guess not late October, mid-October. And we're going to talk about two advisors. Scott, twice the confusion, twice the fun. You know, that's like the Double Mint commercials, right? So is two advisors good? Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it indeed. To me, I think it's interesting. I've run into this sometimes with people that want to have multiple advisors. The most common thing that I hear is that I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket.
Sure.
And so they view it as a version. They view it as a version of diversification. It's probably the number one thing that I'll see. And then as we explore a little bit further and we get a better understanding of what we're trying to accomplish with diversification.
Yeah.
A lot of times, people can come to their own conclusion around like, okay, yeah, this does make sense why I need to have one plan, right? And so, especially like talking with our folks, right? Wealthy Pilots Podcast. Let's think about our folks here. They're working, they're in the cockpit. You got the captain and the first officer. And so, frequently when I'm talking with people, I'm like, I'm kind of like your financial first officer, right? Like I work for you. You're still the captain. You're accountable for what does and does not happen financially in your household.
There you
right?
go.
If you're letting your wife down on your retirement plans, most of the guys I'm working with are pretty good leaders too. A lot of military guys formerly, and they're super accountable, right? I mean, they're flying aircraft with human souls aboard. And so, somebody's not going to look at their spouse and be like, well, we were on track, but the advisor, blah, blah, blah. Most people most of the guys and gals I'm working with are pretty accountable individuals. So all that to say, hey, at the end of the day, like you're kind of the captain, but what does having a financial first officer do for you? And
versus two. Because I asked you, I was like, isn't there three people? And this is so old, but this is my training from the airplane movies all the way back in the early 80s, late 70s. I love those movies.
When they had the flight engineer on board.
Yeah. Over, under, Roger, that, all that, that fun little stuff. But yeah, I always thought there were three people in there. And I've been on enough planes to realize there's only two in there nowadays. And you were like, yeah, maybe back in the day they used to have
for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah. But
for the most part, there's two. And so, to me, it's like, if you look at, especially the role that first officer plays is, really around, supporting the captain. Right.
Yeah.
And, executing a lot of the tasks and assisting with the planning, advising, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately the captain's the accountable individual.
Yeah.
And, for us, like even winding that back on, back to my own military experience. I mean, when I was a young captain, I was a company commander, and you had an executive officer who was there to help you with plans, help you with logistics. But like, you're the one as the commander, you're giving the orders, you're accountable at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But you are taking that advice from your team, so to speak. And so, to me, that's where I think, if you're getting conflicting advice, and again, this is a financial word, it's not flying an airplane, but if you're thinking I'm going to be more diversified because I have two separate advisors, many times you end up with redundancies and gaps, right? Because you don't have all the visibility of all the data in one place. That's the biggest challenge. And so the advice you're getting is not going to be as comprehensive or holistic as it needs to be, right? And then the coordination of the plan falls on you as the client versus I think when you're partnering with one person, and that's where I tell folks all the time, like, hey, if it's not us, it's not us, but find one team, one person that you're going to partner with.
Yeah.
That's got visibility on your entire financial plan. Because ultimately they need all of that data to craft the strategy and do the coordination with tax planning and all those pieces of the puzzle. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if I took a puzzle and then split it between two people, can they put it together? No, they need all of it.
Well, especially not in different locations, because let's be honest, Scott. I mean, I've talked to a lot of advisors and people who've done this with having the split thing. these guys and gals aren't talking to each other. They're not calling each other back and forth and saying, hey, I'm doing this for them. I'm doing that for them. They're not doing that, right? Maybe there's some examples where really ultra high net worth individuals, maybe that's, going on. But if you're just if you're down at the box store on the corner with the big name on there that everybody knows, the little financial place, and then you got an independent niche person like yourself, you guys aren't calling each other, right? So,
yeah, I mean, and you actually
got gaps, to your point.
You got gaps, and you run into, on the advisory side, you actually run into compliance risks, which is why a lot of firms won't do that as a measure of policy. But you're right. I mean, if you've got a net worth of over $10 million, yes, you might be more into a family office kind of scenario with multiple advisors. And so that might get a little bit more unique, but folks with less than that kind of net worth, typically it's not needed. To diversify advisors, so to speak, you're not getting a diversified plan. Mm-hmm. And the other part that most of my folks, as we've worked with them for a longer period of time, that they actually really come to value is just having all their accounts in one place. I'm getting one set of statements, the simplicity, the clarity that comes from, hey, I know I'm only getting, one 1099 from Fidelity every year. That's it.
Yeah.
Versus having stuff all over the place. And, to me, even just that financial organization that comes in for clients gives them better insight on what's going on, and it'll drive better behaviors and better action, towards progressing towards their plan and their goals.
Yeah. And it's funny, simplicity is important. As we age, right? I mean, how many things in your life are you like, man, I don't want to do all that's too complicated. Give it to me simple, right? Let's simplify life. Whether it's downsizing the house, whether it's just decluttering the house, right? How many people are in the declutter mode as they get older? It's like, I don't want all this crap, and my kids don't want all this crap. So It all kind of flows together in that same mindset. Simplicity. Maybe once upon a time, having two was a good idea. And reason we brought this up, by the way, folks, and Scott and I just jumped right into this conversation, was we had gotten a message in, and it said, for years, I've had half my money with one broker and half with somebody else. They're both really cool guys, and they're both really helpful, but now it just feels confusing to the point of this conversation.
Well, and I think the other part of that too is tracking performance gets harder when you have multiple accounts in multiple places too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, most advisory firms are going to have their own third-party system that's going to overlay on top of all the accounts. That's going to give you really good, at least should be giving you really good performance data, really good asset allocation data, better than you're going to get from some of the larger custodians typically. Mm-hmm. But again, you split that between firm, it gets confusing, and it gets harder to track, and especially when you're doing all that net of fees and expenses. And I mean, it's just, it turns into a part-time job to track all that stuff. To what end,
Well, and if you're doing a lot of DIY stuff, you're kind of now this other wheel yourself, right? So now you maybe have three people, with their hands in the kitchen, in the soup, so to speak.
Oh yeah. And here's one other, I'll say hidden risk. Okay. I think some younger advisors might fall victim to this. And so the way I would describe it is the prospective client might say something like, hey, I'm going to give, the listener that emailed in, I'm going to give half to one and half to the other. And then I'm going to tell them, hey, whoever performs better over the next 2 to 3 years is going to get all of it. Mm-hmm. And I think logically, I can kind of understand it from the client's perspective around hey, I just want to really drive for better performance. But from a fiduciary standpoint, right, a fiduciary is somebody who's only going to do what's in the client's best interest. I think you run into a fiduciary conflict where now maybe the advisor is not doing what's in the client's best interest because they're chasing performance, trying to earn more business for themselves versus doing what's best for the client. What does the plan call for? How much risk do we need to take? To me, I don't want to take unnecessary risk and chase returns for the sake of chasing returns. I mean, nobody likes good returns better than I. However, we should be taking the amount of risk that the plan requires.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this has been a theme for us for a few episodes here. What does the data say? Run the numbers and get a good plan together, and then go with that plan. If you don't like that plan, interview another advisor, find another planner. If you're working with somebody that, hey, you like what they do on the portfolio side, but they're not doing any broader planning for you, that's a problem. You're probably leaving tax dollars on the table. You're going to not be happy with where you land in retirement. There's issues there too.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of advisors I talk to, Scott, they're like, look, if you want to, that's great. I'm not going to be a good fit for you because I don't want to work with that. That's not going to work with my system. And it's a two-way street, right? Often, you're out here, we're doing the podcast, you're trying to provide the education and stuff. And yes, at the end of the day, you're saying, hey, if you need some help, I'm here to help. But it has to be a two-way street, right? You're not just trying to add any client just to add any client. It's got to be a good fit both ways. True.
And again, I think, like when I think about, trying to tie it back into action items for listeners too, to me, I definitely think, if there are multiple advisors in the picture, get it narrowed down to one, talk to each of them, figure out, what the pros and cons are, and then talk about it and get to one. I mean, I truly believe that's what's going to be in your best interest. Okay.
Yeah.
Our business is it's part of what I love about it. It's a very personal business, right? I mean, you get really deep, rich relationships with the folks that we're supporting, and it's a ton of fun. That's the best part of the job. I mean, it's just the people you get to work with and serve. Now to that end, that I think for the clients at times can make things more challenging because they're like, I don't want to leave so-and-so. He's such a good person. He's known him since high school or whatever. And to me, you have to be able to separate the personal from the business. Like the business side of this is doing what's best for you and your family. And if that means breaking up with an advisor, then it means breaking up with an advisor. And I try to make that super easy for our folks too. Like, hey, if you might need to go somewhere else if you feel like that's what's best for you. And I understand that, but I'm not going to make recommendations, and you should get the heebie-jeebies if you ever feel like you're getting recommendations that are not in your best interest, that are serving the advisor more than they're serving you. Okay. So that's just, boom. I wanted to kind of share this episode a little bit. I feel like we normally are trying to talk about, specific problems to people, their 401k plans or their tax strategy or whatever. But, this is one I've just seen a little bit more often recently. And, I wanted to take time here as we're in October. And this is a very common time where people are like, hey, we got to quit procrastinating on this and get some stuff done.
Yeah.
And getting stuff done, I think, is getting one plan and then one service provider for the plan and go make it happen. So,
yeah, I love it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, shopping and finding the right person for you, but it just gets confusing. And at the end of the day, I think, that's a great way to kind of wrap it up. Having two advisors usually just creates more confusion than it's worth, and you're not probably getting the best value out of either one. So just kind of clear the air, reduce the voices in the mix, and get one coordinated strategy. And if you need some help with that, you can get started with Scott. You can get onto his calendar, have a conversation. You can pick up a copy of the toolkit. Lots of things you can do. Subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube to catch new episodes when they come out. Hopefully what we're talking about resonates with you and leads you to thinking, hey, I need to make some changes or take some action. That's really the point. And if you do, Scott's here to help if he's the right fit for you. Scott, thanks for breaking it down, brother.
Hey, my pleasure. We'll see you soon.
I always appreciate it. We'll see you next time here on the Wealthy Pilots Podcast with Scott Osborn. Don't forget to click in the show notes below if you need to get some time onto the calendar or to pick up a copy of the toolkit. We'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, real quick, if you haven't grabbed Scott's Financial Flight Control Toolkit yet, now is the time. This is packed with tons of helpful resources and tools like this, Scott's book, The Dichotomy of Wealth, which is a pilot's guide to maximizing wealth and cash flow in retirement. You also get access to some great guides like this one, Advice Matters, which breaks down 4 key ways a good financial advisor can help you boost your returns over time. And guides like this one on the pitfalls of emotions when it comes to investing, and this one on the HCM byline investment strategy, and more. So if you'd like your very own Financial Flight Control Toolkit, just click the link in today's show description, and Scott and the team will be happy to get one sent your way at absolutely no cost to you.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.